Let's take rank 4 Sabretooth as a 7-star out for a spin. This will be one of the champions you can pick up as a 7-star rated champion in the upcoming Rebirth event, which drops this week. It's always down to you whether or not you feel this is going to be a champion you want to grab. This is a 200 signature version. And I'm not saying it has the best coverage. I love the bleed damage, by the way. The bleed damage from the champion, the Fury buff, the transferring that into a Fury passive. That's fantastic. That is really good. There are some things that you have to largely rely on. How you build your Fury buffs will happen as a point of, well, build over a length of time. And then you're like, okay, well, it will take me several fights to build a good amount of Fury passives. Then you'll probably find that, oh, they go all of a sudden. Because yes, every 10 hits on Sabretooth or 5 hits on the opponent's combo meter, Sabretooth gains a Fury against, and then against skill champion, Sabretooth gets an armor break, which is nice against that particular interaction. But apart from that, if you're looking for utility and other things with this champion, you're just not going to get it. If you want to see damage from Fury or Fury passives and bleed damage, you might find some nice stuff with this champion. Like most of the time, which you can see, 80% of the time, it works every time on special attacks to get a certain amount of bleed damage. This number right here, 5250.4, is based on a rank 4 7-star version of the champion, and of course helped along the way if you've got yourself a Relic. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. You can push to an SP3 depending on what kind of mastery you've got, and the footage you're going to see in a minute has me playing with a non-suicide mastery, then of course the liquid courage double-edged masteries, and a little bit of deep wounds in order to kind of exploit that bleed damage that you get from the champion. Being persistent, that aligns the problem in some ways. So first of all, once you're trying to do your conversion, it's very difficult with the AI. The way the enemy AI is, it's not very helpful for you to want to get to your Fury passives, which is dash back, and then you're able to get yourself a nice little Fury as a result. So yes, dodging back and allowing Sabretooth to be idle for 1.4 seconds allows him to get a temporary Fury buff turn it into a permanent passive effect. Trying to get that and rely on the AI is not always forthcoming, and it doesn't always play out to the way you like. However, if you can get away from that, and also finding an option that is Cold Snap and Frostbite immune, then you might really enjoy this champion. So there's some good things and some bad things, I personally think. I mean, come from a signature perspective, 200 signatures on the champion, Fury and regeneration effects receive permanent flat ability accuracy. And I would say with that, does this, and also the regeneration, does that mean that you'll have the 200 signature Awaken and 200 signatures champion? Again, maybe. Because it's always down to if you see a need for this champion in your roster. I personally don't. And in the game as well to be utilized, which I don't see with a lot of the complex champions that are coming into game. It is not something that I personally see as, oh, I definitely need this champion. You know, with tricky skill champions coming in, like Yelena, for example, do I really see myself going up against that champion with Sabretooth? No, I do not. So it's going to be a very specific usage for that particular champion. So am I coming across like, oh, I'm just poo-pooing it and going like, oh, this is obviously not a good champion? No, quite the opposite. So I really enjoy the fact of this for me is a bit of a nostalgia hit. This is, what, 8 years? I think it is 9 or 8 years. I'll go with 8 years. 8 years since this champion was introduced into game. I'm pretty certain it's 8 years. But yeah, back in that time, it did its bit. It's a good champion. At the time, it was great. It was one of very few Cold Snap and Frostbite immune options. We were like, this would be great to use. But anyway, the buff that Kabam have done, or the little update that Kabam have done, and the damage potential that I'm seeing and what you're seeing on screen right now from the footage, is that yes, there is, like, he is clear, even with like non-liquid courage and double-edged masteries, providing you can, which you can see there, just in that moment, trying to find that in that little segment to be able to convert, which I'm struggling at the moment to kind of always go, did I have a moment? Did I have an opportunity? I didn't actually need to in that moment, but it's just trying to find that opportunity with the AI being as helpful as possible. There's still great amount of damage. Like, it's the damage, right? The bleed damage, which is great. Deep wounds, if you got it, really, really helpful. If you've got the greater strength mastery on, it's helpful. But again, we're talking about specifics. Like, it's just too specific. A lot of the time, you need champions that are able to cover a lot of bases, immunities, power control, evade-based counters. You know, most champions need to cover a lot of bases. Battlegrounds is a good example of that, why you need these champions. I think Kabam said that like this may be like a champion you might want to use in Battlegrounds, but I guess it's down to like, you know, quick rotation. Like, you're not able to get the amount of... There's a lot of waiting around. Like, you have to wait for your combo meter to get to 20, and you're like, okay, Fury passive, swipe back, convert. If you've done that and the AI's clapped you, then like your playstyle and rotation may be kind of like very different to what you feel that is the best option. And if you're looking for like a nostalgia hit to grab a champion that's able to do a good amount of damage, then of course this is and could be that particular champion for you. Out of curiosity, or not out of curiosity, but to let you know, the relic that I chose with this one was a rejuvenate buff, increasing regeneration rate, which I thought was quite handy if I was going to be using double-edged liquid courage masteries, but I still found myself ticking quite a bit on that kind of like damage element. Just to let you know as well, that particular relic does have a bleed effect potency improvement rune, so you could again look to that to improve your bleed based damage. If that's the play, then I think that's great. You know, that is going to be just the one thing that you might be like, right, well, maybe I'll do this mastery, maybe I won't. There might be someone out there that's going, Rich, well, I've got a purpose for Sabretooth. I can use Sabretooth in here or there, and that's great. Maybe you're going to find good usage of it in defense. Maybe it's going to be better on offense. But I just can't get away from the fact that anytime I'm trying to get close to convert, I have to largely play a risk to reward game with the AI, hoping that I'll have that in to be able to convert. And a lot of the time, it's not always there. And maybe that will be improved in future as Kabam finally one day address and deal with AI and create AI 2.0. But maybe they won't be. It won't be as fair with it. But either way, I can just comment on the fact of like what I feel and what I experienced from this one. And that was, if I was going about 2-3 fights in and I was building the Fury that I was going into those fights, starting with the Fury passives, I was doing a fantastic amount of damage and it was really great. It's just, it's great to do this damage, but a lot of the time, unless you're using the champion for questing, and I'm talking mainly in like story mode content, or maybe in content that doesn't require choice node, which, let's face it, the Valiant difficulty is now to suppress that usage, you're going to have to find some really specific content in which this champion is going to be a key one for that. But I can't deny the damage that he does and did, and the fun that I had revisiting a champion that I used to play back in the day. But anyway, that has been it for a video, a little bit of coverage. What are your thoughts on the 7-star version and the update the champion received? That's me signing off for Monday, and I'll see you all tomorrow with a lot of coverage and hopefully a Dr. Voodoo video if I can make it in time before I go to bed. Thanks and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.